I call on the report of the Registration of Ministries Committee and its convener, Robbie Hamilton. For those not in the know, this is called rom-com.
I think I'll crack the jokes, moderator. Anyway, convener of rom-com in the Church of Scotland. I said that last year. I won't go over that again. Moderator, just to put the Principal Clerk's mind at ease, my mum and dad wanted to call me Robbie, but in the olden days, Robbie was not a proper name. And in those days, a registrar would say, you cannot call your Wayne that name, and you'd be sent home to come up with another name. So I spent my whole life saying, my name's not Robert, my name is Robbie. A few weeks ago, I had the privilege of attending the consecration of the new Bishop of Glasgow and Galloway in St Mary's Cathedral. But like any good service like that, when the clergy got onto the chancel, there was one person standing without a seat, and that was me. There was no seat for me in the chancel, and someone directed me across, and I saw this big ornate chair. And they kept pointing over to this chair, and I'm thinking, I don't think I should be sitting on that chair. But I nearly sat on it, so I was nearly the Bishop of Glasgow and Galloway. Because it was the cathedral, but they sat me on a little chair next to it. And Dr. Grant Barclay said, how come you got the naughty seat? My wife said the other day, this is not in the script, sorry, moderator. Well, there is a point to this. My wife came online the other day to watch this speech on Monday. And she came on the phone to me. She says, what have you done wrong? I said, what do you mean, what have I done wrong? She says, you've been reprimanded. I said, no, I've been remaindered. Not for the second year running, but I won't go into that. But that happens. Sometimes we get ourselves into a discussion that's so deep, that's so significant, that has wide implications, that sometimes other committees have to live with the fact that they have to be moved to another day. And that doesn't mean to say that the work of that committee is any less important. It just means that there's an intensity in a debate at a particular time. And I think it's important the Assembly understands that you're not being reprimanded, you're being remaindered for a particular reason. And we'd like to be standing before commissioners this year and say that the committee had addressed all of the pertinent points made at last year's General Assembly vis-à-vis the Registration of Ministries Act and the related process. There were a number of comments, a number of questions at last year's Assembly. It is, however, genuinely a work in progress, and I want to reassure the Assembly of that today. What the Registration of Ministries Act does is to allow the Church to do what other professions do, and that's to assist and assess those returning to a particular job or profession within an organisation after a period of absence. And for us, it allows ministers to apply for a charge and to be categorised in other different ways. What the committee does is what the Act requires of us, and that is to support and prepare ministers who have not been in a parish for recent years. Support those who sense a call back to parish and are exploring that call. And as part of that call, we're looking at training needs and experiences. In many, if not most, cases are straightforward and are clear. But sometimes they're not, and we're there to help. And we are there to assist, and we are there to accompany. We're there to support others who are considering a change of category for whatever reason. But we're also there to support and to protect the Church as well as individual ministers, ensuring that those coming back are both ready and prepared. To ensure that there is a consistency of approach, all applicants are treated exactly the same, in that all are required to apply and are interviewed, but at the same time, each individual situation is taken into consideration. Where they've been, what they've done, what experience they've had in the parish. All of this is taken into consideration, treated the same, but the particular situations are taken into consideration. And everyone goes through the same process as everyone else when it comes to application and to interview. What are the circumstances? What has the individual been doing in his or her life up until this stage? Are there any particular training needs or experiences that are needed? And although it's an interview, it's a listening exercise as well. I've been a supervisor of students for probably 25 years. And after a service, I wouldn't just dive right in and say, well, this went wrong, or that went wrong, or this was good, or that was good. I would say to the individual, tell me what you thought about the service. Tell me how you felt during that service. And so we want to ask people who come to us, tell us your story. Tell us what you think your training needs are, how we can help you, as well as us looking at them and assessing them. So it's a partnership. It's a journey together. A minister, for example, who has worked outside of Scotland in the parish system could be asked to take on an interim moderatorship or locumship just to get up to speed with that side of ministry. The committee sees it as a conversation and a journey together. And yes, sometimes we do have difficult and challenging decisions to make. But we want to help with the transition. I met with some military chaplains just the other week with the former moderator, Shaw. And one was saying that the thought of going back to the parish was quite scary. And he needed help. And he would need support to go back to the parish. And that's part of what this committee is actually about. If, for example, the principal clerk decided that she wanted to go back to the parish, she would have to be interviewed, as would I. That would be a wonderful interview. Anyway, I hope I'm still convener then. But seriously, you understand that it's a meeting and a listening and a journeying. And sometimes it's about reaffirming, but reaffirming that perhaps this is not the right time, as well as this is the right time. And I want necessarily to be reassured about what we're doing and how we're doing it. But we are aware that we could do things better, that categorization could be clearer, and aspects of the Act could be more helpful. So we're continuing to look at and review the process for those who apply. The administration, presbyteries, you have to keep the register up to date. The categorization, do they need to be revised? Do we have all the categories that we need? Is it clear? And this is something we want to do in partnership. As we deal with applications in partnership, we want to review what we do and how we do it in partnership as well. With legal questions, the Principal Clerk's Office, but also with others. And we want to continue to be open, to listen, and to learn. We're keen to speak to those who are considering coming back to the parish, well in advance of them making an application to a vacant charge. Don't feel that you cannot come to us until the point when you're about to make the application. You can come to us at any point and speak to us and have that conversation about how we can help you, what you think you need to do. So please have that conversation at any point. The committee after assembly will continue to explore questions and concerns, and will look to see how we can engage to find the right balance in what we do and how we do it. We plan to meet with clerks and administrators, with those who have been recently through the process, with those who have found it a challenging process. We plan also to have a special meeting with assistant ministers who are going to be looking at applying for Category O later this year. We want to meet with them in advance so that we can explore what this committee is about and how we can help them and look into the future with them. We want to reassure them and offer them support at this difficult and challenging time, sensitive to them and sensitive to their situations. Already in the Act is provision for training on an annual basis for chaplains serving in the forces who apply through this committee for Category O, where it has expired, when they're considering returning to the parish. And I want to read what's in Section 18. Forces chaplains. The Faith Nurture Forum, as it was then, in consultation with the Committee on Chaplains to Her Majesty's Forces, shall arrange appropriate input to the annual conference for Forces chaplains, with a view to keeping regular chaplains up to date with ongoing developments in ministry and in relevant aspects of practice and procedure, and thereby facilitating applications for Category O registration from any such chaplains upon leaving the forces. This was an addition when the Act was brought through the Assembly, addition brought after discussion on the floor of Assembly. And this, to my knowledge, has never, ever happened. And I want to ensure that it does happen from now on. In consultation with the Principal Clerk's Office, with FAPOLT, we will work on this. And I've spoken to the convener of the Chaplains Committee about making myself and others available along similar lines to speak with chaplains, but also to ensure that some kind of training is put in place. All of this takes a bit of planning, so please be patient with the committee. But if you have questions about categorisation, process, anything else, please be in touch. If you have questions about your current registration or about potential application, please be in touch. As for the committee, it's one of the best, if not the best committees I've had the privilege of serving on. Thank you. On that note, no, but it is the best committee. Members work so tremendously hard and bring a number of skills that has helped me and has supported me and helped and supported others. Moderator, I move the report and I submit the deliverances. Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. I have notice of a question from Neil Mayer. Oh, sorry, seconded. Yep. Question from Neil Mayer.
Thank you, Moderator. Neil Mayer, 340. Moderator, I wonder if we could ask the convener just to clarify the position of those folk who are on assistant ministers' schemes. We heard the good news from FAPOLT that they will shortly all be called because there's lots of vacancies open and so on, and that it's been extended for 3 months. But the possibility does exist, given the way that the time that these things take, that not all of those folk would be called and in position in time. Some of them have been on the assistant minister scheme for a length of time, and the 3 years, which I think is their initial period, it will have elapsed for some of them. Can we just have some clarity about how they go about renewing that, and will their ability to receive calls be retained for a period after the Assistant Minister's scheme ends at the end of the year? Thank you.
Moderator, thank you for that question. There was a note, a briefing note sent out to all commissioners. Am I right? No? It's in the report that those who were ordained 3 years ago, up until the end of this year, they are still able to apply for a charge because they are within 3 years of their exit certificate. After that, there needs to be an application to the committee to retain Category O. But that can be up, I think it's November, we're looking at the deadline for applications for those who perhaps their O category will expire at the end of the year. It's the end of November. But that's why I said that very soon we're going to have a meeting with all the assistant ministers so that we can talk all of these issues through. But we understand that people are keen and there'll be some overlap and we are going to be helpful and we're going to be flexible in that. Okay.
Thank you, Convener. A question from Thorsten Koenig.
Thorsten Koenig, 129. Just to be precise, Robbie, assistant ministers are category E, even if they are ordained. Is that correct? Because you just mentioned category O will expire.
They're category E, but they're really, it's a strange thing, Thorsten, because we're counting them, although they're employed, we're counting them as graduate candidates. So that you get a graduate candidate for 3 years, and then you would go into Category O. So perhaps, when I said Category O, I really meant graduate candidate.
Okay, just to clarify.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. There is a request to make a comment, so we'll move first of all to the deliverance. Section 1, receive the report. That's received in the hall and online. The comment is from Thorsten.
Again, Thorsten König, 129. Robbie, you made something very dangerous. Because we just reconfirmed you as a commissioner for 2 years, and based on your speech, you run the risk this will be extended even more. Because what I really like is it's such a dry thing when you read it, and it was a lot of concerns among assistant ministers and unclarity, and you gave heart to this legal text and spirit and compassion and pastoral care, and that you said that the committee will engage with all those chaplains, assistant ministers which are confused. I just want to thank you for that, because that is really how our church and all the legal texts should work with each other and with people. So thank you to the committee.
Moderator, I think the thing that I realised, especially since I became a Treasury Clerk, is how confusing at times some of our acts and legislation actually are. And registration of ministries is one of those. There's a lot of confusion over categorisation, and sometimes there's some myths as well. And I think the only way to help with that is to have conversations, and that's what we seek to do.
Robbie, I echo what Thorsten said about being delighted that you've been reappointed for 2 years, though, as I said to you yesterday, I had your farewell speech all written. So, but in it, I was saying really just all what Thorsten has said. So we are really grateful to you for bringing real heart to the work of Romcom. So we've received the report. Section 2. Approved in both places. Section 3. And the deliverance as a whole. Excellent. So approved in both places. Thank you very much. Thank you, Robbie, and your committee.